Today, we are going to unlock a black box that, believe it or not, controls pretty much every decision you make. We're talking everything from your morning coffee to your life savings. Yep, we're talking about the human brain and the secret story it tells about all of our economic choices. So, let's just dive right in with a question I think we've all asked ourselves. Have you ever, say, made a really careful budget and then completely blown it on something you didn't need? Or maybe you promised yourself you'd eat healthy, only to find yourself grabbing a candy bar at the checkout. It feels totally illogical, right? That is the big mystery we are going to unravel today. To really get why our choices can seem so strange, we have to start with how economics used to look at them. And for a long, long time, the model was simple, it was predictable, and honestly, it was a lot like a vending machine. For ages, traditional economic models were what they called as-if models. They basically treated the human mind like a black box. You put your preferences in, you push a button, and voila, a perfectly rational choice pops out. So if you buy a Coke, the model just treats it as if you logically prefer it to Pepsi. But, and this is the key, this whole approach never bothers to ask how or why that decision got made. It just totally ignores the complicated, messy machinery working away inside that box. So the big question is, how do we get inside that box? Well, that's where this really fascinating new field comes into play. It's basically the key that lets us finally peek inside and see all the gears turning. The economist David Lobson gave us this definition, and it is our key to opening the black box. Now, I know, it sounds pretty dense and academic, but it's actually a surprisingly simple, two-part recipe for understanding our choices. So let's break down exactly what he means. Okay, first up, biological microfoundations. Just think of this as the hardware. We're talking about the literal, physical stuff inside you that makes decisions happen. The different systems in our brain, the actual firing of neurons, even the influence of our genes, our heart rate, and those chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. It is, quite literally, the biology behind the buy. And the second ingredient is economic cognition. If the first part was the hardware, this is the software. It's all the mental processes humming along when we make a choice. Our emotions, what we expect is going to happen, what we've learned from past mistakes, our memories, and, how we even decide what we like in the first place. So neuroeconomics just combines that hardware and software to see what's really going on. But how does that actually work? Well, the method they use is this amazing investigation. It's almost like putting the brain on trial to get to the truth behind our choices. And the process itself is remarkably elegant. First, researchers will design a game, something like the famous prisoner's dilemma, to get people to behave in a certain way, like cooperating. Then, while the person is playing this game, they're inside a brain scanner. The researchers watch the choices they make, and then, this is the crucial part, they look for a correlation. They ask, when this person decided to cooperate, what exact part of their brain was working overtime? Now, the star of the show here is the fMRI machine. It can't read your thoughts, but it does something that's maybe even cooler. It tracks the flow of oxygen-rich blood in your brain. See, when a part of your brain works harder, it needs more oxygen. The fMRI sees where that oxygen is rushing to, and it shows us which areas literally light up when you're wrestling with a tough decision. And all of this investigating, all of these scans, have led to a pretty groundbreaking discovery. It turns out it's not one single unified mind making your decisions. It's more like a constant negotiation, a tale of two brains, really. This little comparison really lays out the internal conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the affective system, that's your gut. It's lightning fast, it's automatic, and it's totally focused on the reward you can get right now. On the other side is the analytic system. That's your rational mind. It's slow, it's deliberate, and it's great at planning for the future. But there's a catch. It takes a lot of effort, and it gets tired. And this constant tug of war, it brings us right back to our original mystery. Your analytic system, your mind, is the one that makes the budget. It's looking ahead. But when you're tired or you're stressed, your affective system, your gut, takes over. It sees that shiny new thing right in front of you, and it acts fast. So what feels like irrationality is actually just biology. So this isn't just some cool biology lesson. Understanding this internal battle has a huge payoff for the entire field of economics. Let's dig into what that actually looks like. Peeking inside that black box has some seriously massive implications. For starters, we can build economic models that are actually based on the real mechanics of the brain. So if economists have two different theories about why people save money, they can now look at brain scans to see which one is closer to the truth. This just sparks the creation of totally new, way more accurate models built around this whole gut versus mind conflict. It also lets us check if ideas from behavioral economics, like our tendency to want a reward now way more than a bigger one later, actually have a physical home in the brain. And, on a personal level, it helps all of us understand and maybe even manage our own internal battles a little bit better. Really, the ultimate goal here is a complete paradigm shift. It's about finally stopping saying it's as if people behave rationally, and instead building models that show how the brain actually computes a decision. It's like moving from a rough, abstract sketch to a detailed biological blueprint. And all of this leaves us with one final big thought. We've gone from a simple vending machine to this incredibly complex map of our own neural systems. So if we can keep mapping the biology of our choices, if we can really understand that tug of war between our gut and our mind, what could that mean for the future of how we save, how we spend, and how we live our lives? That's the really exciting question neuroeconomics leaves us with.